Shri Eknathi Bhagavad Satsang. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha, Om Shri Saraswataya Namaha, Om Shri Guru Datatre Namaha, Om Shri Mahalakshmi Namaha, Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. We are doing Shri Eknathi Bhagavad Satsang, chapter 2. So yesterday we finished verse 5. We'll be starting from Shri Eknathi Bhagavad, chapter 2, verse 6 onwards. The deities, acting like one's own shadow, serve their worshippers even as the latter worship them. Following the course of their karma, saints, however, are compassionate towards the downtrodden without consideration of their karma. The gods give fruits to people in accordance with the kind of service or worship which those people offer them. But they also bring terrific calamities on those who do not worship them. That is the nature of gods. Now here, when we are referring to gods, we are talking about the demigods. We are not talking about Sri Krishna Paramatma. As a man turns, his shadow also turns. Similarly, as a man worships gods, they give him what they wish. Otherwise, they bring in great calamities. As the sun rises in heaven from morning to noon, our shadow is shortened. Similarly, as we worship the gods, they become pleased. When the sun sets, the shadow disappears. Similarly, if we do not worship these deities, they get angry. So gods are selfish, as you know well. Now, what is he telling here? He's saying here, most important thing. So yesterday we learned Sri Eknath Maharaj himself telling how these gods, the demigods, they also do have death. They are not eternal. There's no permanency there. And also, you are subjected to sins. Means what? If you do something, you will get the benefits, and when you stop doing that, you are going to get great calamities or sins. The same thing he's saying. So what happens? He's saying similarly, if we do not worship these deities, they get angry. I'm sure you remember a very beautiful story from the Krishna Bhagwan's Leelas. One of the stories is that when when the Vrijavasis, when all the people of Vrindavan, they were going to do this rituals. They were going to do the sacrifice for Lord Indra. And Krishna Bhagwan tells his parents and everybody in Vrindavan, that is all the Brajvasis, that why are you doing this? You should worship Govardhan. Who's the one who's going to protect you? Why are you giving these sacrifices and why are you doing these rituals to Lord Indra? And because of that, what happened? There was a great calamity. So the people, they listened to Lord Shri Krishna Bhagwan and did not offer the sacrifice, offer whatever the offerings, and did not perform the rituals to Lord Indra. And Lord Indra got very angry. And what happened? He reigned for this whole 1 week. 7 days he reigned continuously. So what did Lord Shri Krishna Bhagwan do? He lifted the Govardhan mountain with his tiny finger. And everybody all the Vrajvasis, all the residents of Vrindavan were under his protection. Which means what? So Lord Krishna Bhagwan, that is, he is the Paramatman. He is the eternal being. He is the only one. He is the supreme deity. He is the supreme Godhead. And there is nobody greater than him. So what did Krishna Bhagwan say? That you have to worship me. And it is very important. And when you worship me, you don't accrue any karmas. You do not get into these calamities. You do not get into these sins. Even if you give me a leaf, the leaf of Tulsi is good enough. I very happily accept your offering. He's not expecting these kind of rituals. So he's saying, whatever you offer to me with devotion, I will very gratefully accept. That's what he's saying. So he protected all the residents of Vrindavan from this great calamity. Even Indra could not shake him. Then he understood. He was wondering, who is protecting all these people? How is this happening about? He reigned so heavily, continuously, non-stop. And all the people were taking shelter under the Govardhan mountain, which was lifted by Shri Krishna Bhagwan with his tiny finger. So that's what he's saying. But here what happens when you do not offer, you are subjected to these kind of anger from these deities. So what happens? Great calamities come about. But when you are with the divine Lord, nobody can do any harm to you. He is not expecting any such thing from you. So you must understand what is in good for you, what is your welfare. So let us continue. So what he says, when the sun sets, the shadow dips, disappears. Similarly, if we do not worship these deities, they get angry. So gods are selfish. Gods are selfish. Who? The demigods. The deities are very selfish. As you know well, let alone other deities. The God who is the greatest is also very corrupt. He does not meet unless your separate existence is destroyed. And when he meets, being pleased, he takes upon himself the burden of taking births instead of the devotee. When he is worshipped from the core of your being, he becomes so pleased that he puts his body to the service of the devotee. But he does not ever go to the home of one who does not worship him. Absolutely. See, when you worship him with utmost devotion, what does he do? He takes care of you. He ensures that you are not suffering any cycle of birth and death. And what does he do? He puts his body to service of his devotee. He serves you. What does Krishna Bhagavan say? I am the servant of my devotees. He always says this. He's ever ready to serve his devotee. He's always waiting to, do anything that is required by them. He takes care of you. But what do you offer in turn? What do you do for him? That is very important. Where is your love and devotion? He's not even expecting anything from you. All he expects is your 100% love and devotion for him. That is all he's expecting, nothing more than that. So, the saints like you do not think or behave in this way. You are particularly very compassionate towards the lowly. You are simply the storehouse of kindness, storehouse of kindness. I will explain what I say. Now, who's saying this? This is the explanation given by Eknath Maharaj, but who's saying these words? This was said by Vasudev. He's continuing, right, to Narad Muni, because Narada is visiting Vasudev, who is Lord Shri Krishna Bhagavan's father. As Sri Vyasa was intelligent enough, you gave him the teaching, but you did not show indifference to Dhruva, thinking that he was an innocent child. When you gave the teaching to Prahalad, you did not hesitate because he was the son of demon. Really, the way of your kindness is the resting place for the downtrodden. What is he saying? He's saying everybody is equal to you. See, in the eyes of a guru, the sages and the saints, everybody is equal. He does not discriminate between anyone. They are ever willing to give you the knowledge. They are ever willing to do everything good for you. But it is you who has to show the devotion. They don't have any differentiation. They are ever compassionate being. Their benevolence is beyond someone you can't even measure. It's beyond one's mind's ken and understanding. So what is important? It's all your bhakti. You need to recognize this real masters, real sages and saints. They're very great, with great difficulty that we get to come in contact with them. It is very great difficulty, or not difficulty. It is with great merit that we have earned from our previous lives, that we have the fortunate of meeting these people in our life. And we must be blessed. That is why they are with us. Having a guru who's Lord Almighty itself is the biggest boon. It's a great privilege one can ever get. But we need to acknowledge what we have in our life. But we don't seem to acknowledge that. We take our life to be very granted. You know why? Because what is for our welfare, we need to understand. So we need to focus on our progress. We need to focus our effort, our time, everything. We have to invest in ourselves so that we can attain redemption in this very life of ours. We should not waste our life in futile activities. In the material world, what are they doing? They work like a mechanic. Their life is mechanical, and they do all the frivolous things, which is not going to lead to their liberation or redemption. On the contrary, they are only creating more and more karma and adding many more sins to their account. That's what they do. So stop wasting your time and see what is good for you and focus in that direction. That is very important. So coming back, The hunter Valya, who was simply a robber and a killer, was not knowing what is devotion and what is worship of God. You taught him to recite the name of Rama and made him the great poet Valmiki. Even gods pay respect to him. You are the great helper of all the destitutes, and you are the sage by reading whose book, that is Bhakti Sutra, even the Lord Sadashiv becomes overjoyed. You know, there is very beautiful scripture which Narad Muni has taught, which is called Narad Bhakti Sutra. It's so beautiful. It talks about the devotion path, why it is so important to have devotion to Lord Sri Krishna Bhagwan. It's very beautifully explained. And also my Krishna Guruji has done this satsang of Narad Bhakti Sutra. You can go and listen to it in his channel called Krishna Knows. You are the great helper of all the destitutes, and you are, okay, we've done this. Sometimes outwardly you pretend to be angry, but you destroy the sins of him with whom you are angry. Finally, you kindle the lamp of final liberation and show the sadhaka his own reality. You are really having the image of Achyut in your heart as the very core of your being, your Atman, and therefore the Lord God also respects your wish and obeys you. He liberates that man about whom you suggest God that he is worthy of liberation. But the God does not pay attention to anyone of his own accord. So what is he saying? Guru is the doorway to God. It is when the sages and the saints and the great Guru, are giving you that knowledge and giving you the grace and blessing that God himself gives you, that grants you that liberation. Otherwise, what is being said? God does not pay attention to anyone. Why should God bother about you? What is so special about you? Why should you need his attention? This very beautiful thing. How does the mother look at the child? When the child is crying and seeks her attention, correct? Similarly, if you need God to pay his attention to you, don't you think you should show your innermost craving that he should look at you? And how will you demonstrate that? Through bhakti, by singing his praises, by singing songs, by calling out to him continuously. But if you don't do anything, how will he even look at you? He's not going to be bothered about you. Why should he bother about you? What is so special? That is what you have to prove. What is that one thing you require? Bhakti, devotion to him. In this way, you are the Guru who gives spiritual initiation to the lowly, and you are very generous about the knowledge of Brahman. Therefore, I request you to tell me about what I am going to ask. All the same, O holy Brahmin, we request you, this is verse 7, all the same, O holy Brahmin, we request you to tell us those dharmas, that is righteous conduct, hearing which with faith man gets rid of all fears. Vasudeva again most respectfully said, O divine sage, I feel that today all my merits are fructified because you, the giver of self-joy, have come here in my home as you are like my father and mother. See how beautiful is Vasudev, who's father of Lord Shri Krishna, is addressing Narada. It's very important that we pay respect. He doesn't think that, oh, I am the father of Lord Shri Krishna, so why should I even bother about you? Did he even speak in that way? How is he addressing? That's called utmost respect. This is the way we need to honor. This is the way we need to speak. But today, people don't have a decency how to speak. They speak whichever way they feel like. They don't even know how to be humble in front of a guru. They bring their big fat ego, their arrogance and pride that they are some people, great people in this world, where they don't even have any, iota of knowledge. The humility and humbleness is not even there. It is very sad to see how, in the Kali Yuga, how this deterioration has happened. We don't know what it is to be humble, how to speak, how to address, be respectful. The decorum, the etiquette, nothing is there today. We just behave whichever way we feel like. And worst part is, we are creating a future generation where language and anything, they speak however they want to. We are not instilling these good qualities in them. The culture and tradition is very important. When you are in front of these kind of people who also behave, they set an example. They become a role model for others to follow. So please understand, tomorrow when you behave in a certain manner, please be careful how you are talking and behaving in front of your children also, because they are going to exactly emulate like you. Today why you don't know any of these things? Because your parents have not taught you this. Neither have your teachers in the school, nor your great grandparents or grandparents. Nobody has taught you. So you are behaving whichever way you feel like. So behavior is a very important aspect. What is it called? Code of conduct. It is very, very important. So what is he saying here? Vasudev again, most respectfully, said, "O divine sage, I feel that today all my merits are fructified because of you. The giver of self-joy have come here in my home as you are like my father and mother." How beautiful is this? "Please be kind to me as you have been kind to other disciples and free me from the bondage of worldly life. I have complete trust in you. You have really made me a person whose all desires are fulfilled. So now, with the same kindness, please tell me the duties or the ideal conduct of the follower of the Bhagavata path. Please tell those duties in such a way that all the residual effects of action or inaction will disappear. And by listening to them with faith, I will be free from birth and death. The fear of the suffering in mundane life is very great, and its root cause is Maya, illusion, delusion. Please tell me that group of duties by doing which that Maya will today disappear. If you say that I am not eligible to receive that knowledge, then please listen to what I say." How beautiful. He is humbly requesting. In Bhagavad Gita also, what does Lord Shri Krishna Bhagavan say? Shri Krishna says, you have to go to these wise men, be subservient with humility, bow to them and seek the knowledge and ask them with all humility. Then they will confer this knowledge upon you. This is what Shri Krishna Bhagavan also has said in Bhagavad Gita. But how do you act today? Today we are in a world, we are all in a world of digital transformation. Everything is digital. People today sit on Zoom calls, they attend the satsangs. What is the first thing they do? They'll close the window. How do you think this knowledge is going to enter in you? You can't even keep your windows open. My Guruji, Lord Krishna Bhagavan, he is, and he keeps telling this to people. Please ensure you keep your windows open so that when I look at you, the knowledge can get transferred. But nobody pays heed to his words. Why is that? Why are you so disrespectful? You think any knowledge is going to enter you? If you cannot follow the code of conduct, please understand you are not going to get any knowledge. And by disrespecting him, please understand you're only adding to more karma and sins, which is not good for you. Your spiritual growth is never going to happen. So it's very clear. How is Vasudev asking Narad Muni, that is the sage Narada, how is he asking him? Very humble. And he's requesting, he's pleading him. Even if you think I am not worthy, please listen to what I say. Give me that knowledge. He's father of Shri Krishna. He's already redeemed. He doesn't even have to say these things, yet he's saying. That shows how we need to conduct ourselves. It's a very, very important lesson for everyone who are in the path of spiritual to follow. Forget about the material worldly people, because material world people doesn't fit this bill. But if you want to grow, you need to follow these things. So verse 8, indeed, previously in the earlier birth in this world, I worshipped the God who gives us freedom for having progeny, but not for freedom, as I was deluded by his Maya. I know that I am not eligible, but I have in the past done worship of God. Please listen to that. I have in the past done a good amount of devotion and worship of God, but alas, that was wasted by my desire of having a son. And in that, I had been deceived by Maya. What is he saying? How beautiful it is. Just by that one desire to have a son, I did not ask for freedom. So what is the greatest thing that you can seek from God? Liberation is the word. That is what you have to ask. Not, God, please give me $1 million. I want a house. I want a penthouse. I've got a property here. I want to earn more. I need a family. I need to be happily married ever after. What all? Anything else there? Oh, I need house. I need a very good job where I can make a lot of money. This is all a human being's desire. But what is the most important thing that you can seek from God? Freedom. What does freedom mean? I want to be liberated. And what does Vasudev say? Just of that one desire, I got deluded by Maya. I did not seek for freedom. I did not ask for freedom. The God was pleased with me and offered me to demand whatever I wanted. At that time, I was deluded by Maya and bade him to become my son. He asked Lord Shri Krishna that he wanted him to be born as his son. Instead of saying, I want you to liberate me. Then he gave me what I wanted and came as my son Shri Krishna. But he does not teach me spirituality. Why? Here, this is a very important thing. Why? Because only you can get the spiritual knowledge only through a guru. Even Lord Shri Krishna Bhagwan had a guru, and Shri Krishna Bhagwan's guru was who? Guru Sandipani, and he had to go and learn under him. It is a very important thing. Without a guru, you can't get spiritual upliftment or spiritual weal. Guru is the doorway to God. So what is he saying? But he does not teach me spirituality. He instead bows at my feet and says to me, I am merely your son. How sweet. But that is the truth. He only is playing his duty as a son. He cannot give that spiritual knowledge because he is not a guru, no? But Shri Krishna Bhagwan is the master of this universe. Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum. But as a son, he is not going to teach him because he is not playing the role of a guru there. So what happens? Then Vasudev has to meet a guru so that he can get his spiritual will. So I never get knowledge from Shri Krishna. I really know that Shri Krishna is Rishikesh, the Paramatman. I have got faith because Shri Krishna has become my son as promised by him. And you are also pleased, O divine sage. So please emancipate me by your grace. I request you to give me the direct knowledge which will wipe out that Maya by the power of which I have been deluded. What more should I say? How beautiful is this ask. Verse 9. O sage of noble vows, so instruct us that through you we may surely and easily be rid of this mundane life full of misery all around and beset from all sides. It is a fact that the ocean of worldly life is full of the waters of the Maya, and it has become very difficult to cross it. Therefore, O the great sage, please become the ferry for us to go beyond. The waters of this ocean are all salty, and it is so full of great ferocious aquatic animals that each one has practically gulped the whole world. The waves of allurement are rising one above the other, and they throw themselves with all might on the wall of stupidity. They break the shore of courage, which collapses before them. The wind of pride is always noisily flowing and blowing, which causes the ocean to suffer great turbulence. And then the ocean shouts with two words, me and mine. And see how many whirlpools of various lusts and passions are moving rapidly in it. Thus men and gods have no courage to try crossing this ocean. How beautiful. So what is the two things which is keeping all of them deluded? It is called lust and greed. And I, me, myself, it's me and mine. It's always that. There's nothing more than that. And also what is he saying? It's not just men, but also gods have no courage to try crossing this ocean. So what does a god also have to do? They also have to take a human form to cross to the other side, cross over the ocean. They also have to take a birth. They have to take a human form so that they also can attain liberation. It's not so easy. So nobody understand how great a how great a fortune if you get to meet a guru in your life, who is Lord Almighty himself. We do not understand the importance and significance of this guru in our life. We take it for too much for granted. We think, oh, he's there just there to take our karma and suffer. That's all he's there. And I need to enjoy my life. I need to enjoy my material worldly life. My family should be good. They should be protected by Guruji. Guruji has to suffer all the sins and karma of mine. But I should be very much devoted to my family. That is what you care about. You are not truly interested in your spiritual wheel. Are you? Because if you are interested in the spiritual wheel, day and night you will be only thinking about this. See, whatever the duties in the material world are, it just happens as an autopilot. You don't even have to be bothered about it. When you have the faith of your guru, when you have absolute faith in your guru, and when you know that he's going to take care, you don't even have to bother. You just will sleepwalk that. But man will not do that. You know why? They're so attached. They love to be in that misery. They think that world is very beautiful. That's what it means. So, in the creeks of the jealousy, the high tide of anger always enters, and there spread the salt of jealousy and disregard everywhere. There are innumerable peaks of the mountains of lust, and on them sprouts the plant of desire, which have the first buds of sense objects. Actually, is very beautifully explaining with an, very nicely in a very poetic language how this happens. It's just giving an inference here. What happens because of your lust and greed? You're sprouting, and your plants of desires are sprouting. And what is the buds? The first buds of sense objects. You're running after the sense objects, the attachment to the sense objects, born of your desires. In the ocean, there are fish of contradictions, will and doubt. Crocodiles of evil gossip about others, and alligators of hatred of Brahman are very much rampant and are swimming about. This is very important. What is he saying? In this ocean is what? In the ocean is the worldly life in which you are living. Okay? There are fish of contradictions. Fish of contradictions means people will contradict. Will and doubt. Will and doubt. They're going to doubt. Then crocodiles of evil gossip about others. What is there? Crocodiles of evil gossip. People always say bad things. Here it's evil. It's not even bad. It's evil. Gossips about others. And alligators of hatred of Brahman. Alligators of hatred of Brahman. Who's Brahman? Krishna Paramatma. So they don't believe in God. They are the haters of God. And what are they called? They represent the alligators. Are very much rampant and are swimming about. They're all there. Yeah? They're in the same ocean as you live. And that's called the worldly life. Though the ocean of this worldly life is so vast, you are like that. You are like the sage Agasti in the matter of drying up of this ocean, and therefore we have trust that with your help we will cross it safely. Now, who is the sage Agasti? He's just giving a saying, Narad Muni, sage Narada, you are that, in this ocean, you are like the sage Agatsi in the matter of drying up of this ocean, which means you will destroy that Maya for us. And you will be able to help us cross over this ocean of worldly life, the worldly existence. But are you really seeking? Is there the fire in your belly that you're seeking? Oh, this is my ultimate goal. People take the sweet time. My Guruji will be teaching the same thing over and over and over and over again. Yeah, they'll all sit and listen, but no action. Just listening. Okay, I listen. Yes, I am attending such spiritual satsang. Yes, but no implementation, no application of knowledge. Knowledge will also not enter because mind is full of this worldly existence. You're filled with all the day-to-day desires. My husband, my job, my children, my wife, my parents, my relatives. Oh, I need to entertain other people. But your own will, you're not bothered about. When will you progress? God gives one opportunity and people want to destroy that opportunity also. So what is Vasudev saying here? I want to cross over. You are the sage Agastya to us. Please help us. The whole universe is afraid of the big waves of this ocean, but we shall not be troubled by them due to your grace. O Narada, the ocean of compassion, please take me to the other shore of this turbulent ocean. So what is he saying? He's saying, please take me, help me cross over. You are the ocean of compassion. And I know you will do this for us. You're a very compassionate being. Please take me. Please tell me about the code of Bhagavatas so that I will wade through this ocean on foot. Listening to the talk of Vasudev, Narada was glad, which fact is being told by Shuka to Parikshit. So verse 10, O king, being asked thus by the intelligent Vasudev, yes, he's very intelligent because he asked the right thing to sage Narada. The divine sage Narada was pleased being reminded of the great virtues of Lord Hari and said to him. While speaking about the question of Vasudev, Shuka was happy. He said, Narada, the cloud of spiritual blessings now started to pour the rain waters of spiritual joy on the seekers of liberation. You know what? In Sai Baba's Poti, Baba said, towards the end, he says, I am ever waiting to confer this Brahmanyana to the seekers. But how many do come? Nobody wants this. You know what you want? You go with a big begging bowl. I think I keep repeating this. It gets boring. I am tired of saying this. Everybody goes with the bucket list. And it's like a bottomless pit because the list has no end at all. There is no list, there is no end to the lists of things that you want, which are nothing but your desires. I want this, I want that, and that, and that, and that, and the list goes on. It is endless. But do you go to him saying, Baba, teach me Brahmanyana, I want to get liberated? Nobody is asking that. Sai Baba will say in his poti, I am ever waiting, ready to confer this knowledge, but nobody is coming and taking from me, but they come for all the petty things. It's so sad. So why is Sage Narada very happy? That's because he knows what Vasudev is asking him. He's so excited. He's so glad. Oh my God, I'm so happy that somebody is asking me this. And he said the right things. So the cloud of spiritual blessings now started to pour the rain waters of spiritual joy on the seekers of liberation. Now he's going to pour that blessings. Shuka said, the minds of Vasudev and Narada were united with each other at that time. And Narada said, O Vasudev, blessed is your speech. Narada was full of inner joy while he was telling, O Vasudev, by this question of yours, the god Narayana has as if appeared here physically in the form of joy of the spirit. The Lord himself had descended. Why? Because he's so joyous. Somebody is asking for him. And why will the Lord himself not descend and give him that knowledge? Absolutely yes. Narada was full of Narada's body was having goose pimples. His eyes began shedding tears of joy and he began to talk, filled with the mood of self-bliss. It's so beautiful. Whenever my Guruji, any devotee comes and seeks him, he's ever joyous. He's running about, he's serving, he's cooking for them. He does all that. Why? Because he's very happy that somebody is coming to learn with him. They're asking for this knowledge. But what do people do? No. They don't want knowledge. They have material worldly problems. That is why they come. They are not seriously coming in love of him. They are not coming and singing the glories and how great he is, how sweet he is, how beautiful he is. No, that is not what they're coming. They're all coming because there are problems in their world. They need some solutions. They need something. Ask for this knowledge. Ask for this liberation. He will be so blessed. Meaning the person asking will be blessed. He will bless you with that. He's so joyous to meeting his devotee. How beautiful is that? You don't know what these divine beings go through. What does a guru go through? You don't understand. When his disciple or devotee gets lost in the material world, the guru is ever sad. He feels, what can he do to bring him back on the path? He tries his best effort. He tries to do everything so that he can put the devotee back on the path. But it is devotee's effort, the disciple's effort. You have to put your self-effort. Till you don't put your self-effort, nothing can happen. So here, Lord Narayana himself is there physically with that joyous spirit of his. So what is he saying? Narada's body was having goose pimples. His eyes began shedding tears of joy and he began to talk, filled with the mood of self-bliss. If a speaker is not full of joy when he luckily gets a loving listener, we should know that he has not tasted the nectar of the essence of the story of the Lord and he is dry. Listening to the question of Vasudev, Narada was very glad and in the same mood of happiness, he began to tell Vasudev as follows. So what we'll do is, we'll stop here and we will learn about it tomorrow in our next satsang. What is now Narad Muni going to say to Vasudev? And what is the code of conduct? And what is the ways in which one follows the path and attains to liberation? So with that, we end here. Thank you for joining Sri Eknathi Bhagwat Satsang. Have a good day and good evening to you all. God bless.
Recording stopped. Thank you, Rajna.
Thank you.